how did we 4.5x or bring a online e-commerce store from 50 grand a month to 230 grand a month with no extra ad spend at all? So this is just a bit of a case study about a client of mine. And when I joined him, he'd already been trading for 6 years. So he started his online business in 2016. So I joined him in July 2022. And let's just take a little quick look here. So you can see here 53,000 in the online store. So he does have a couple shops as well. And at the time they were doing 150K. But then fast forward to the last 30 days and boom, look at this online store, 231K. And then the physical stores are pretty much the same. So you can see the power of online, having an online business. So, just to prove to you, that this is real. So here I am in the Shopify dashboard. So I've got July 1st to 31st here, 2022. So that's when I joined. And then fast forward to the last 30 days. So we can go down here and you can see here again, online store revenue, 231,000. So, these are real results. I've got the screenshots there, but this is a real result in a real account. Let's just go into it. So how did we do this? So, first of all, they were on MailChimp. And if you're doing any decent numbers at all with your e-commerce store, you're definitely going to move to Klaviyo, especially if you're on Shopify or WooCommerce. I mean, Klaviyo just integrates so well with WooCommerce and Shopify, all the triggers, all the integration with the data and, recording what people do. It's just a must. MailChimp doesn't do, half the stuff that you need in order to set up a really good automation system and also to segment people properly. It's just a no-brainer. You've just got to move to Klaviyo. I mean, I've heard good things about Omnisend, but still people just stick with Klaviyo. They go to Omnisend and they come back. So anyway, he was on MailChimp and we just had to migrate it over. Luckily, MailChimp and Klaviyo have a good connection. So you just kind of connect it up and then sync all the data, make sure it's working properly. And thankfully, because of this integration, we were able to start sending campaigns immediately with Klaviyo. So that was a really good way to get going. So what was it looking like in the beginning? So let's start with the sign up form. That's always the number one thing to start up, to start any, emailing. You've got to start collecting the emails at a higher rate, to build your list, to grow your list of fans. So in the beginning, they didn't have any pop-up going at all. So the email collection was extremely slow. It relied completely on people who did make a purchase or anyone who happened to sign into the embedded form on the site. I mean, that's barely anyone. I mean, if you got an embedded form on your site, it's probably at the bottom. Maybe it's in the middle. Nobody signs up to this. So at the time, they had 14,000 people in their database in total. So of course, we implemented a high converting sign up form with micro commitments, SMS enabled in there as well. We've got a 4-step system which brings people onto the next step with these little micro steps. And overall, right now it's at 6.93%. So I will say that's a little bit low compared to my other clients, but the reason for that is that this is actually a retail store that sells big brands, right? So he's not got his own brands where the margins are like 70%. He's actually selling other brands like Under Armour, Nike, TaylorMade. It's a golf store. So, the margins for these, selling other brands is a lot lower. So really he can only do 5% off with the sign up form. So that's why the sign up form rate is a little bit lower compared to what my other clients have. I mean, my other clients are around 12, 13, 14%. And that's because we can just do better offers and push people up high, with, increased offers, things like that. So it is a little bit low compared, but it's still really, really good. And as you can see, it's consistent. He's got a lot of traffic. The sign up form itself makes 43K in the last 30 days. But anyway, so from 14,000 to now, a few years later, he's got 72,600 people, right? So it's massively important now to grow your list. The number one step in email marketing isn't even about sending emails. It's about collecting the emails. Because if you're not collecting the emails at a high rate, then your list is not growing compared to whoever's unsubscribing. And if your list isn't growing, you've just, you haven't got more people to advertise to. You can't use email marketing enough if your list isn't growing. So, I mean, collecting email is a number one priority for any e-commerce store. The bigger your list grows, the more revenue you make with campaigns. It really is as simple as that. On top of that, emailing your customers, it costs a fraction compared to running ads. Think of email campaigns as the cheapest and hottest traffic you can send to your site. It literally doesn't get any cheaper or higher converting than blasting off campaigns to your list. There is nothing else on the internet that can even come close to the value that email brings compared to the cost, right? So just really get that into your head. It can be a huge traffic generating machine and the cost of it is a fraction compared to ads. So build that list. That's the first port of call. Then after that, we started setting up automations. Of course, in the beginning, when I joined him, he had no automations. This is very typical. They don't realize what automations are. An e-commerce business store owner, they're busy. They don't realize what there is. So they're none at all, right? They were relying 100% on the ad traffic to convert on the first visit, right? And this site's conversion rate is around 1.5%. So what that means is 98.5% of people who visit the site for the first time, they simply go. That's it. They're gone. And then you're relying on your ads to bring them back again at high click rates or high impressions, high cost per impression, and for 98.5% of people, if you're relying on that, that's a huge chunk of people that are just gone, and you then need to keep spending more and more to get them back, bring them back to your site. When you set up the automations, what are the key ones? Welcome series, abandoned cart, abandoned checkout. I'm not going to go through all of these, but we set up 25 automations in total. But site abandon, that's another good one. Browse abandon is another good one. For this particular client, price drop notification, that's a really good one because he often reduces prices when things are like, last season, he reduces the price. People get notified and it brings them back if they viewed the product in the last 90 days saying, hey, this is on sale. That's a really good one. The thank you flow is hugely important. Someone makes a purchase, you thank them, maybe give them another coupon, show them what the best sellers are, show them some new stuff, bring them back to make an immediate purchase. So again, I'm not going to go through all of these, but there's 25 flows that we set up in total, and every single one of these flows is making money. So let's just have a look here. So we've got a 6-month view. I don't know why Klaviyo doesn't let you view a whole year, but anyway, this is a 6-month view of how all the automations are performing. So the welcome series, that's always the biggest one. Generally, that's when people sign up and then they get introduced to the store, they get their coupon. And then, you talk about reviews, you talk about, the products, why you're a good store, customer service, shipping, all that sort of stuff. So that one is generally always the best one. And you can see in the last 6 months, that's made nearly 140 grand. Then abandoned cart reminder, if someone gets to the cart, but they don't get to the checkout, we send them a reminder to bring them back. Welcome SMS subscriber. That's like another welcome series, but someone who's subscribed to SMS. Abandoned checkout, very similar to the abandoned cart, but it's the last stage. They get to the checkout, but then they don't buy. This brings them back. So anyway, those are the big ones. But again, you can see that all of these are making loads of money here. So 140, 46, 45, 41, 21, 19, 18. So it goes on. Of course, you go down and, they start making less money, just a few hundred here, a few hundred there. But, think about this, if you just add up all of these flows here, I mean, what is it? Maybe 3 grand or something. And then double that for the whole year. That's an extra 6 grand for some flows that were just set up once and then just left to run. You just leave them to run and they're just constantly working in the background, just generating money. So all these flows are making money, and some of them really, really good money. So apart from just setting up the flows, you got to set up the flows in a good way. And, you got to know what to put in there, how to, maximize the chances that someone's going to buy, how to convince them that your store is trustworthy. And there's a lot of things that we do. You got to highlight reviews. Deal banners are a big one for this client because, as I said, he's got lots of products coming in and then coming out for, for the seasonality. 0% financing banners, dynamic product blocks would showcase, a customer's search history or their purchase history and recommends products they think they might like. So that's in Klaviyo alone. We do a lot of copywriting based around urgency and scarcity. So last few of these, there's only 10 days left or 5 days left, limited editions. After that, attention grabbing and personalized subject lines, we always get 60% open rates in the campaigns and, in the flows as well. So really, really good subject lines are absolutely key to keeping people open the emails. And then easy to digest layouts to draw the customer in. You can't have an email that, someone just looks at the top and they get bored or they don't like it or whatever. The way we design our flows in emails is it really draws them in. So we get them to scroll and look at the whole of the email. So that's hugely, hugely important now, because maybe the first bit of the email they don't like or they're not interested, but then we try and get it so we put some other things down below that they are interested in. And then the CTAs are really important as well. Highly engaging CTAs. You do this with bold, color popping buttons, and then interesting wording around the CTA instead of just shop all or shop now. It's you could say grab yours now, get this product, make it yours, whatever. Lots of different things you can do, and then as well shop all or browse all buttons. And what I mean by that is bringing people to a collection. So it's hugely important to let people get to a point where they can browse on your site. If you just put products in there, just singular products, and someone's not interested in any of those individual products, there's a much less likely chance that they're going to be interested in buying anything. So when you put the shop all or browse all, in a collection or the entire product list, that makes them click on it and then start doing the browsing on the site itself. So hugely important that for high click rate and then also high purchase rate. So all those flows, those 25 flows in the last 6 months have done £365,000 in revenue on autopilot. It's just constantly working in the background. Sure, we do some tweaks every now and again. We do some A/B split test, but by far and large, those flows are just set and forget, and they're just working in the background, bringing people back to your site. So all your ad traffic is pouring people in, and all these automations is bringing them back to the site. So double that, and obviously it's over 700,000 in automations that are making money on autopilot. So hugely important there, all the automations. So now let's look at campaigns. So when I joined this business, the campaigns, there was no consistency. It was only sending 2 or 4 a month. I mean, it was like when he had time, when he thought about something, when something came across his desk, he was like, oh, that's interesting, let's do it. And he was only sending like 2 or 4 a month, so it just wasn't enough. And his campaigns were poorly designed. I mean, again, he was a busy store owner. He didn't have time to get into designing it nice, and they weren't looking too good. So as I said before, because of MailChimp, we managed to immediately start sending more campaigns. So instead of 2 or 4 a month, we started with 3 per week. And then we realized that each one of them was getting opened and doing well. So we increased it up to 4 per week. And every single campaign makes money, every single one. So if we just have a look over here, this is just the last 30 days. And if we just scroll over here, so you can see the open rate, 63, 64, 64, 64, 66. So, as I said, we know what we're doing here to get high open rates. But then not only that, we're getting a lot of orders as well. So $3,000, nearly $3,000, 1.4, 3.2, 6.9. 4.9, basically 5, again, whatever. I'll just go down the list and you can see every single campaign is making multiple thousands. So huge win there. When you've got your list that has grown, in this case, to over 72,000 people, and you're able to blast off to all those people, you're going to catch them. You're going to catch a few people. I mean, of course, it's, it looks small, like only 21 and 15 and, 36, but that's generally what it is. Not everybody is in the market to purchase all the time, but those few people are. And then you do that 4 times per week, it adds up. And then you do it, 16 campaigns a month. Well, in fact, we do 18 per month with this client, 18 campaigns per month, and every single one of them is generating thousands. It adds up a lot. And then take that over the year and it adds up even more. So campaigns are a huge money driver. And, sending them frequently and keeping them interesting is super important. So I'm going to get into that in a little bit about how to keep them interesting, how we kept these interesting. Here are the basics. It's similar to the flows, highlight reviews. We mix up the content. So, different types of products, different deals, new stuff, clearance stuff, lots of different mix of content here and there. And then mixing up the design. So that's what I mentioned. I'll show you down below. But this is hugely important in order to keep people interested in opening your campaigns. If all of your campaigns look the same, if it's the same structure, the same color scheme, the same layout every single time, people get bored of it and they just don't feel like opening it because they think in their head, oh, I know exactly what this is going to look like. I know what's in this email. Maybe they're wrong, but they think that they do. Now, by mixing it up all the time, it helps people think, well, I have no idea what this email looks like. I don't know what it is. So they're more inclined to open it and have a look. So a huge thing that we do there in our agency. We love to mix up the designs and the colors and things like that. And then again, you go into crafting exciting, intriguing subject lines. A/B split test for the best send time. That is the #1 split test that you can do, finding the perfect time on when to send your campaign emails. It is the easiest split test. You don't have to redesign. You don't have to worry about, the CTA colors or the copywriting or anything like that. It's literally send it at that time and send it at that time. That's it. And it has a huge impact in terms of clicks and sales and everything. So finding your best send time is hugely important. And then again, for this particular client, it's extremely deal heavy. So we always highlight the savings it can make. This is due to selling the same brands as many other competitors. So whenever a customer thinks they can get a better deal with, my client, this particular store, they snap it up. Maybe they're looking at that one pair of shoe on 5 different sites. But, if we send them an email and go, boom, these shoes are like, £5, £10 off, they're going to snap it up. Go, right, there you go. That's my deal. And again, all the rest, deal banners, 0% financing, dynamic product blocks, urgency and scarcity, and then layout, and then good CTAs. So, these are 3 different campaigns and you can see how different they are. Now, of course, with this client, it works well because we can use the brand color of what we're focusing on for this particular email. So in this case, it's a FootJoy email. And so we were able to go with blue. This one here was just, it's got a few generic things in there, but we made it orange and black. And then, obviously mix in some other banners as well. But you can see how different they are. And because we are keeping them different with different colors and different layouts, you can see that, each little product block looks a little bit different. This keeps people really, really engaged because they're just interested in looking at the new layout. It's that little dopamine hit. They're like, what's it going to look like today? Let's see. And then as well, you can see these shop all. So shop all FootJoy there, shop all Adidas there, shop all Adidas. These happen to be the same. They were similar emails, shop all shoes, shop all bags. So those are those collection links, which are hugely, hugely important. We lay out a few products, and if someone doesn't like any of those, then we say shop all shoes. Lay out a few bags. If no one's interested in those ones, they shop all bags. And most of the clicks goes on those shop all, right? Most of them, sometimes people like that particular bag. There might be a particular deal. They really love it, so they click on it. But most of the clicks goes on those shop all ones. It's just about getting people interested in whatever product it is and then letting them do the shopping themselves. Right. So just moving on a little bit. So, I've been in e-commerce since 2011. I've had my own Shopify store. I've been in the game for a long time. So I know a lot about e-commerce and Shopify in general. So I'm always, happy to make suggestions to all my clients that are outside of email marketing that really help, AOV boost or increase the conversion rate. There's lots of suggestions that I can make outside of email marketing. And probably one of the best suggestions I made for this store was installing the frequently bought together app. So think like on Amazon, when you're on an Amazon page and you've got all those suggestions down below, there's an app on Shopify that does that, and it does it really, really well. And if you have a look down here, so 237,000 in conversions, 237,000 pounds in conversions over the whole year. So interesting story. The AOV and the sales started dipping a little bit, and nobody could figure out why. It went on for like a week or something like that. And it just started dipping. We're like, oh, what's going on? Everything's working. And then I looked at the product page and I noticed that the frequently bought together app had shifted like further down, and it wasn't right next to the add to cart button. And I said, look, there it is. That's been shifted. So let's move that back up. And I bet you sales go up again and AOV goes up again. Sure enough, we shifted it back up. I mean, there was some Shopify update or something. It just got shifted around. I mean, you got to be on the ball with these things. And sure enough, the AOV and the sales started going back up again. And so apart from that app, I found another app that helped hide out of stock variants. This was an issue the client had for years before I joined, and I fixed it in a day. I was like, oh yeah, I know an app for that. Install that, all the variants which are out of stock, boom, they'll be hidden. So based on his average order value, I suggested he raise his free shipping threshold. This is a really interesting one. So a lot of people just go around and do what other people do. But if you've got an average order value of say, $70, but your free shipping threshold is $30, right? You could probably raise your free shipping threshold to $70 and not see any dip in sales at all. I mean, if you think about it, the average person is spending $70. So, raising the free shipping threshold to $70 is not going to make a huge difference in your sales. And sure enough, we did that and there was no dip in sales at all. But what that meant was there were quite a few people daily who were not meeting that threshold, who were spending $3.99 on shipping. So that $3.99 on shipping a few times a day, add up over the week, over the whole year, that adds up to thousands in extra revenue, or not even just revenue, pure profit to the bottom line, because that's something that people weren't even spending before, and you were doing the same thing. But if you add that little bit every single day, multiple times a day, over a whole year, that's a few thousand extra per year. So it's a big one, that. And, I always suggest that. So I also got him set up on a badge app, and all this does is, it can automatically tag new products or products that are on sale or limited edition, whatever it is. And this just helps that when people are scrolling in a collection and they just see a badge, if it's new or if it's on sale or whatever, it just helps, get them to click on it and then potentially buy it. It's just nice and visually obvious which are the cool deals, which are the new products. So that was a nice one. And then lastly, I took a look at his Google PMax campaign, and I noticed that he was only doing a catch-all campaign, right? So just catch-all. And, I said, man, this is not good enough. Google needs to have more signals of what people are shopping for and then how to retarget them. So I suggested he split it up into product type, and sure enough, the sales boosted. Now, I don't have the data on that because, I don't actually have access to his Google. I just looked at it that one time. But yeah, there was a big boost in conversions, and it stayed the same ever since. So basically, all of this is done, right, with no extra ad spend, right? So we raised, all the work that we did, everything we did, 4.5x. I mean, okay, it was over 3 years. We're in 2025 now, but he went from 50 grand a month to 230 grand a month, right, in 3 years with zero extra ad spend. right? I mean, that's the power of email marketing. He's spending exactly the same amount. I mean, he never raised his Google budget. He's only got one retargeting ad on Facebook. It's the same budget, but all he's done is with that budget, we've slowly grown and grown and grown the email list from 14,000 people to 72,000 people. So with those 72,000 people, we're now able to keep emailing them and driving them back to the site again and again. And not only that, but we're staying top of mind constantly. With 4 emails per week, maybe people don't open every single email. Maybe they only open 2 a month, but they're staying subscribed and they're noticing it. They just keep seeing it. So the next time that they're ready to make a purchase, instead of going on Google or going straight to Amazon, they are probably going straight to this store now. They go, oh yeah, I remember there was a deal, or oh yeah, I saw an email. They might just be in the emails like, oh yeah, let's have a look what's on there now, right? Staying top of mind with email marketing is the number one thing that you can do to create more profit, not have to spend more on ads, and staying top of mind for a long, long history with your customers in order to keep them interested. So you don't have to keep increasing your ad budget or worry about where you're going to get sales from. Growing that email list is your number one traffic source. All these people are super, super hot. So, I mean, there's just a few things that I'll talk about that this customer does really well, which, if you're not doing an e-commerce store, you gotta consider it. So first of all, he did increase his SEO, efforts, and he's done quite well with that. So, that gives good signals to Google. You get, cheaper traffic. So, I can't take claim to that, but he did do decently with SEO. After that, he's always launching new products, right? So that's huge. A lot of e-commerce stores just kind of get this wrong. A lot of D2C stores, they think, oh, I'll get this one product and that's it. Boom. I mean, if you do that, you're in constant customer acquisition mode, and email marketing does not work as well if you've only got 1, 2, or 3 products, right? You've got to expand your range. So then you can email people with the new stuff, the clearance stuff, the promos, product launch, is coming soon. Check it out. Get people excited. When you're launching new products, email marketing really, really comes into its own. And of course, you can then launch new products in a much more cost-efficient way. Instead of relying on ads, you just go to your list who already like you. You just blast off an email to a bunch of people who already trust you, who already like your products, blast it off, boom, sales go up. Another thing, as I said, because he is launching new products, he often does clearance and promos. So, that really helps with email marketing. A lot of people say, oh, don't discount too much. Listen, you got to do it a little bit. And why do people sign up to emails? That's where all the promos are going to be. You're not going to be constantly blasting promos on Facebook or Google, but within your email list, you should do it. You should do it to a certain extent. Not every single email, of course, but that's why people are there. They want that, they want to be the people to know first. You can put it on your site, price slash, but the people who are signed up to emails, the reason they stick around is they're waiting for that deal. They're waiting for that new product. They're waiting for that next exciting thing. They are your fans, so you got to treat them as such, and, treat them well. And keep them interested. So, I mean, if you're interested in learning about this, if you're interested in doing this for your store, I've got a 9-step email marketing course. It's broken down in exactly the right order of how an agency like me and other agencies do it. And that's on School for just a small subscription. I value this course at like $1,000 because I spent $1,000 on an email course before, but this is nowhere near $1,000. It's just one small monthly subscription. If you want to join in, come for a month, 2 months and then leave, great, do the course, go. It's not going to be anywhere close to $1,000. So, join my school group. Have a look at the link in the description, and it talks more about it. If you need help figuring out what step you need to improve on, have a look at that video on my landing page, and it will help you navigate to the exact step where you get a free module to as a taster. Hopefully I'll see you in my school group. If you are interested in working with me, I'll put my Calendly link down below as well. Just book a call and let's see what we can do. Let's 4.5x your revenue as well. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.